Hey guys, how you doing? Hopefully you're doing okay. I'm going to give you a very thorough overview of the article. I'll likely read through certain sections of it. I need to give you a trigger warning. This is a really horrendous case. Quite a bit of the article, the latter part of the article, is going to be quite graphic, very graphic, and I'm going to read through it. So this is very, very dark, completely gruesome, and it's absolutely awful. Okay, trigger warning is in place. There's a link in the description. If you appreciate the coverage, please do like, comment, subscribe, share the video as you see fit. Now, I will let you know that this article was published a couple of weeks ago. I'm a little bit slow in covering this topic. It was published November the 10th. I'm going to start off by giving you an overview. It's in regards to this absolute psychopathic piece of shit that we see in front of us. I'm going to call her a banshee, okay? That's my preferred term for evil witches like this. I've got to stick with banshee because if I stray off, I'm going to use other words which you're going to find even more offensive, okay? So her name, Taylor Rene Parker, 29 years of age, from Texas. She has been found guilty, and I can let you know she has also been given the death sentence. She is currently residing on death row. Good. She deserves no less. So she was facing either the death sentence or life in prison without the opportunity for parole. The judge is on my wavelength. I go for death sentence. That's my preference. I know a lot of people do prefer life in jail without the opportunity for parole to have that extended suffering. So I understand that. Personally, I'm more than happy with the death penalty. I wish the death penalties were able to be quicker than they are. I would cut through all of the bureaucracy if it were up to me. I would not allow those that have been found guilty of such horrendous murders, horrendous crimes, to continue to abuse the judicial system by having the opportunity for parole, for appeals and such. I would personally take them back to the back of the shed, give them two to the back of the head, dump them in a ditch, pour some concrete over, walk away, done. I would do all of that within a matter of hours if it were up to me. Matter of minutes, to be honest. But in any case, this woman is currently residing where she needs to be residing, on death row. Her name again, Taylor Rene Parker, 29 years of age. She has been found guilty in the murders. In 2020, this occurred. The murders of Regan Simmons-Hancock, who was the murderer's friend. She was approximately 34 weeks pregnant at the time. Regan Simmons-Hancock. The murderer also has been found guilty of the slaying of the unborn child, Braxlyn Sage Hancock. So she was convicted. The jury made a decision in regards to her conviction in less than 1 hour. Such was the extent of the evidence against her. The jury took no time at all to convict her. Likewise, the judge, if I understand correctly, very quickly decided upon the death penalty. So I applaud the swiftness of the proceedings that occurred in Texas. So this woman, Taylor Rene Parker, the banshee, the murderer, she's also known as Taylor Morton. She's also known as Taylor Way Casey. And her charges are charge of capital murder by terror, threat, or other felony. And as I say, she had two possible options. One, the death sentence. The other, life in jail without the opportunity of parole. The judge gave her the death sentence. So she's sitting on death row right now. Okay, I'm now going to read through quite a bit of details, which is going to outline the crime in question. It's going to go into details. It's going to be horrendous, okay? Trigger warnings. The investigation unfolded after the victim's mother went to her daughter's home on October the 9th, 2020, and the victim's mother found her daughter, Regan Simmons-Hancock, dead. Police were called. Officers arrived at the premises, and they found a white female on the ground in the living room, face down, with a large abundance of what appeared to be blood throughout the house. Blood was located on the floor, furniture, walls, appliances, and other items in the home. Blood was everywhere. Officers learned that the victim, Regan Simmons-Hancock, was approximately 34 weeks pregnant. They asked emergency medical services to come to the scene and to check on the status of the baby. There is body camera footage which shows an emergency medical services practitioner turning over the victim's body, Regan Simmons-Hancock's body, and that revealed a very large cut across the victim's abdomen area. Emergency medical services were able to identify very quickly that there was no baby. No longer a baby. There was no longer a baby in Regan Simmons-Hancock's stomach area. It had been removed. Now, outside of the scene at the home of the victim, another event took place. So hopefully I'm explaining this well. So authorities inadvertently came across the murderer earlier in the day. So around 9:30 a.m., police pulled over a vehicle in Texas, the specific area, DeKalb. Police pulled over a vehicle at around 9:30 a.m. on the day of the killing. The murderer, Taylor Rene Parker, was the driver, and the murderer was holding a newborn infant in her lap. The umbilical cord was connected to the infant, which appeared to be coming out of the female driver's pants, out of the murderer's pants, as if she, the murderer, had given birth to the child. Hopefully you can visualize this scene. She's sitting there, the murderer is sitting there, she's been driving. She's got the child that she's ripped from her pregnant friend's body. She's got it, the child, on her lap. She's stuffed the umbilical cord in her pants to give the impression that she's the mother. She has just given birth. The murderer, Taylor Rene Parker, was performing CPR on the unborn child, Braxlyn Sage Hancock. On the infant. On the infant. I'm questioning whether or not she was born. I guess she was born. The murderer was performing CPR on the infant. Emergency medical services came to the scene. They transported both the murderer, which they assumed was the mother initially, as well as the infant to a hospital. The murderer claimed that the child was hers. However, the medical staff were able to ascertain that that was not the case. It turns out that the murderer, Taylor Rene Parker, sliced the victim, Regan Simmons-Hancock, from hip to hip. Using a scalpel, the murderer pulled her uterus out. The victim, who was approximately 34 weeks pregnant, had struggled with her killer. We know this because there were defensive wounds on her hands. There were other injuries as well. One of her fingers was dislocated. Another was almost cut off. This is in regards to the victim, Regan Simmons-Hancock. Investigators determined that there were more than 100 stab wounds. The victim suffered more than 100 stab wounds, with at least 39 stab wounds on her head. The victim's skull was fractured in 5 different places. The victim's head was likely struck both with the blunt and clawed end of a hammer. Further, the victim was likely beaten with a 4-pound jar full of pink and blue sand, which came from the victim's wedding. The scalpel that was likely used to remove the uterus was found lodged in the victim's neck. What a fucking disgusting, awful, awful, awful murder. Absolutely brutal. It's believed, or prosecutors have argued, that the murderer, Taylor Rene Parker, chose to do this heinous act. She was motivated by trying to pretend to her boyfriend that she had a child. So apparently, the murderer had lied to the boyfriend. She had said that she was pregnant when she wasn't pregnant. So the theory from the prosecutor, the argument from the prosecutors, is that Taylor Rene Parker, the murderer, stole the victim's baby as part of an elaborate plan effort to keep her boyfriend. So, I'm going to say this woman, Taylor Rene Parker, I'm so glad that the judge has done what they did, which is sentence her to death. She's on death row right now. This woman, Taylor Rene Parker, is an absolute psychopath. In my opinion, as a layman, of course. Absolute sick as you like psychopath. She has no place on this planet. No place. No benefit. Why keep her here? I mean, that's the view I have, pragmatic view, one that I share with the judge. This person has transgressed every moral law, if I'm using the right terms, you know what I mean in any case. Every social law, every social rule, she has transgressed far and beyond. There's no justification for allowing someone who lacks any level of humanity to remain on the planet. Take her off. Destroy her. Death row exists for good reason, in my mind, for a multitude of different reasons. I just find it a shame that it is so prolonged. I mean, this woman is guilty, no doubt. She is absolutely guilty. She's been found guilty. She went under a trial. The jury found her guilty in less than 1 hour of deliberation. The evidence is all there. She was apprehended by police with the infant at the time. Now, it's not entirely clear if the infant was alive at that time. The infant being Braxton Sage Hancock. This murderer was posing as the mother and posing to be performing CPR. Whether or not she was, in all honesty, we don't really know, I guess. But this woman is just batshit crazy, and beyond that, saying batshit crazy is just too soft a term. She is sick as anyone can imagine. Sick as anyone can imagine. So I'm gonna wrap things up at this point, guys. Hopefully this has been a worthwhile topic to cover. It's been absolutely horrendous. Of course, full condolences to the victim's family. This again happened 2020. I don't know the specific. Oh, October. Yeah, October the 9th. To the mother who discovered her daughter and granddaughter's body. Full condolences. Hopefully they're finding a way to get over this horrendous situation. I'm going to wrap things up here, guys. Take care.